Hello and welcome everyone. If you think you're going to get rich quick, vibe coding apps, think again. Last month, the internet was infected with the vibe coding mind virus, and suddenly everyone is talking about how they are going to build the next billion-dollar app in 2 days without actually knowing how to code, using tools like Lovable AI, Bolt, Cursor, and Windsurf. And patient zero is ex-OpenAI and ex-Tesla AI wizard Andre Carpathy, who coined this term back in February. In the euphoria caused by the illness, he posted, "There's a new kind of coding I call vibe coding, where you fully give in to the vibes, embrace exponentials, and forget the code even exists. And sometimes the LLMs can't fix a bug, so I just work around it or ask for random changes until it goes away." To which even Elon Musk responded with a skeptical, does this sound like a healthy programmer to you? Unfortunately, the sickness has spread like wildfire on the internet, and now millions are having fever dreams of getting rich quick, like indie hacker Peter Levels, but sadly, most will eventually fail without an audience like his or his level of technical knowledge, or without the determination to make it through a painful stint at the School of Hard Knocks. Look, I'm not totally trying to kill your vibes. Some of the hype is warranted. AI code generation is legitimately revolutionary, and we ought to be excited about our newfound superpowers. But I do want to look at some of the real-world examples of what happens when vibe coding goes terribly wrong, because with great power comes great responsibility.
Don't say like this.
My goal is to inoculate you and others out there against the vibe coding mind virus and the new strains of it popping up every day like vibe marketing. I'll start by explaining why vibe coding is a terrible idea that's not going to make you rich overnight. Then I'll tell you everything you need to get right before you can expect to get rich with apps, including things not even technical vibe coders are telling you, not because they are being deceitful, but because often they don't even know what they don't know. Next, I'll narrow that list down to just the essential steps you should do right before you ship your app, whether you're a total noob or have a rich technical background. Finally, I'll share an alternative to vibe coding that's actually faster and more reliable that surprisingly few people are talking about in this current AI hype cycle, something Carpathy apparently doesn't know about, according to another one of his posts we'll examine in a moment. But first, why should you listen to me? Well, for one, if you don't, you could end up like this guy Leo, who after bragging about building a SaaS product with Cursor AI without writing any of the code and said, continue to whine about it or start building, a few days later posted, "Guys, I'm under attack. Random things are happening. Maxed out usage on API keys, people bypassing subscriptions, creating random stuff on the database." We'll get back to the saga of Leo and find out if he recovers from this later in the video. But another reason to listen to me is because I'm all in on AI. I've built multiple apps using multiple tools where AI wrote nearly all of the code. And my apps work great for me so far, but I know I can't launch yet because there are still some critical pre-launch steps that vibe coding doesn't replace. I know this because I've struggled with web apps myself before, despite having a deep technical background, including experience writing code and developing on the web professionally. 15 years ago, I built a Google SEO affiliate business that grew successful enough for me to quit my electrical engineering job for over 5 years. I endured years of pain securing and scaling that business to millions of monthly visitors, which required me to develop more technical skills than I ever would have thought necessary. So I can confidently tell you from both my past struggles and my current experience with AI-coded apps, vibe coding doesn't make any of those challenges somehow magically disappear. There's an invisible iceberg of technical and non-technical knowledge and skill lurking below the surface you need to know about. Here's almost a complete list of things you need to eventually get right in order to get rich with your own app. All of the things vibe coding advocates aren't telling you, again, because most of them simply don't know. There's design, both UI and UX, development, deployment, testing, debugging, securing, scaling, analytics, monitoring, maintenance, regulatory compliance, and most critically, validation and marketing, because no matter how brilliant your app and its execution is, if no one wants it or no one knows about it, no one will buy it. In fact, if you really want to get rich with an app, marketing and validation is probably where you should start. Notice how many of these skills are entire career specialties. I did it all for my content business. On the technical side, I stood up a virtual private server, VPS, running CentOS, configured IP tables, installed virtual min and webmin for management, monitoring, and backups, added ModSec and OWASP to the LAMP stack for security, which hurt performance, so I configured Varnish Cache and Cloudflare as a CDN, Hacking attempts continued to get through though, so I installed OSSec for host intrusion detection and file integrity monitoring, and ended up with a physical server in my basement to collect security logs I fed into the Alien Vault OTX for security information and event management. And it was pretty hard to keep all of it working with WordPress, which was supposed to be the no-code solution of that era, but sometimes I had to dive into the code myself and spend days fixing things after installing a critical security patch. And after all of that, my business ultimately failed for more important non-technical reasons. So that's why I knew vibe coding, the way it was being sold, was a terrible idea the first time I heard it. In fact, I posted about this on X back in February before there was clear evidence of the harm it would cause, saying, "Does anyone else truly hate this new term vibe coding as much as I do?" It looks like this has been well received from all 59 people who have seen it so far. Vibe coding is a terrible idea because it's being used on social media in a way that's hurting two groups of people. Beginners who don't realize that they will need technical skill and knowledge beyond what AI can do for them right now, and developers who either forgot or don't yet know that coding was never the hardest part of building successful products. It's literally everything else. But social media keeps amplifying the hype, with Anthropic CEOs, quote, predicting 100% AI-generated code within 12 months, and citing stats like 25% of Y Combinator startups are using mostly AI-generated code. The consequences for beginners and developers that believed the vibe coding hype have been real and sometimes devastating. I don't think this was Karpathy's intention. If you go back to his long Euphoric X post, you will see near the bottom that he says, "It's not too bad for throwaway weekend projects, but still quite amusing." But social media hijacked the term anyway, and it didn't take long for the evidence of harm to surface after vibe coding went viral. Let's get back to the story of Leo. He did have some other posts on X about things he did to fend off attacks, but ultimately he posted, "I'm shutting down my app. CursorG's keeps breaking other parts of the code. You guys were right, I should have deployed unsecured code to production." Leo then announced, "I'll just rebuild it with Bubble, a more user-friendly and secure platform for non-techies like me." Switching to Bubble turned out not to be the best decision either. He kept posting publicly about building with Bubble and how some of the attacks continued. Leo also pointed to another case with Jack Fricks, who had his database and then his Vercel deployment hit at some point after he launched. Eventually, Jack was left wondering what to do with 12,000 accounts the attacker created in his database. I'm surprised I haven't seen someone post a 5 or 6 figure hosting bill from their vibe-coded app yet. You might think, well, these guys are being targeted because they're bragging building in public. I'm not doing that. Look, if you're building a small personal project or don't have ambitions of making a lot of money, you might be okay for a little while. But the fact is, once your app is live, it will face constant automated attacks from bots run by everyone from script kiddies to sophisticated state actors. I'll show you how to deal with this in just a moment after we address the latest mutation of this virus called vibe marketing. I believe as vibe coding's limitations started coming out, the internet quickly pivoted to vibe marketing. The first type of vibe marketing promises AI can automate marketing for everything, products, services, and apps, with arbitrary productivity claims of 10 to 100x to accelerate your vehicle on that road to riches. The second form of vibe marketing suggests that marketers and others should vibe code their own AI marketing automation tools they use themselves or with a small team to achieve 100x productivity and get rich that way. Sounds exciting, right? And I'm actually exploring this second form myself, but I'll be straight with you. I'm not even seeing 2x productivity yet once all the development work is factored in. At this point, people are mostly selling ideas and possibilities around vibe marketing, not results. So this is more hype to take with a grain of salt. And non-technical folks really shouldn't be vibe coding apps without a commitment to learning the trade, given all of the realities I mentioned earlier. Karpathy, the PhD AI expert himself, is having revelations and slowly coming to similar conclusions that maybe even highly technical people shouldn't think they can just jump into web dev feet first. Late last March, he confessed, "I'm relatively new to modern web dev and find the above a bit overwhelming. And I'm embarrassed to share it took me 3 hours the other day to create and configure a Supabase with the Vercel app and resolve a few errors." And up here he says, "There's no full stack product with batteries included. You have to piece together and configure many individual services." And back down here, "A lot of glory will go to whoever figures out how to make it accessible and just work out of the box. for both humans and increasingly and especially AIs. But that's not entirely accurate, and a little more proof that Karpathy is a web dev noob. And don't get me wrong, I think Karpathy is brilliant, and I'm a fan of his, but there actually are full stack solutions that are faster than vibe coding. It's called boilerplate. Check out products like ShipFast and Gravity. Gravity offers a full stack solution with payments, auth, front-end UI, database, email, analytics, and even rules for Cursor and Windsurf, so it's more AI developer friendly. The integration tests provided are nice to make sure AI doesn't break something important. Check out the video on the page that shows you how to build an AI photo app in 30 minutes that includes authentication, payments, and everything. It might be a bit pricey for some, but not too bad if you don't need analytics or the site and mobile app templates. The ShipFast product is on the other side of the cost spectrum, and it says you can ship your startup in days, not weeks. It includes login and auth, database, payments, front-end UI, email, and more, like SEO. These solutions let you skip days or weeks of configuration and vibe coding headaches and get straight to building your unique features. I haven't tried either of these yet, but I'll link both in the description, and I ask that if you found this video helpful so far, consider using my links to purchase them. It supports the channel at no extra cost to you. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you. But you notice on the ShipFast page, here's our friend Jack Fricks again, doing a testimonial for the ShipFast product. Remember, Jack still had to deal with attacks on Supabase and Vercel, and to be honest, I don't know if that product was built with ShipFast, but it doesn't matter. Using boilerplate also doesn't magically make all the other problems we talked about before disappear. It just gives you a better foundation faster than vibe coding. So what is the list of essentials you need to check off before you launch an MVP, whether you vibe coded it 100% or leveraged boilerplate? I can narrow it down to just 4 categories you need to visit before launch. And this is just an overview of what to do. If you want more specifics on how to actually do this stuff, click on the link I'll put in the description and let me know what you're looking for. If enough people respond, I'll look into creating a step-by-step guide or maybe a list with some tools to use. But the number one thing you will need to start the list off are basic app developer skills. If you don't already know it, learn GitHub and learn it well. Master the basics of initializing repos, committing code, creating, testing, and merging development branches, and how to revert changes when you or your AI breaks something. And deploy your code from GitHub using a service like Netlify or Vercel. Then learn how to use a staging environment that mirrors your production setup but isn't public facing. This lets you test changes safely before deploying them to production and catch issues before real users or attackers do. Number 2, you need basic security knowledge and best practices. Always implement automatic backup and restore capabilities for your application. Make sure you're backing up not just your projects on GitHub, but also your databases and web hosting configurations. Encrypt these backups and store them somewhere safe, possibly in multiple locations. And please understand that GitHub itself is not a backup solution. GitHub accounts can be hacked, and there are plenty of Git commands that can permanently damage your repository. And actually test restoration of your backups regularly. If restoration to a staging environment is automated correctly, it's simple and quick to do and prevents nasty surprises when you need your backups the most. Then implement rate limiting and things like CAPTCHAs and email confirmations on things like signups and sign-ins, and also set hard limits on anything that costs money, like API calls and bandwidth. I've seen countless horror stories of startups getting hit with 5 or 6 figure cloud hosting bills because they didn't set up proper usage limits or neglected to monitor their usage. Next, set up centralized analytics and logging from all parts of your apps with alerts sent to your phone. But also, check logs daily, and when things inevitably break or come under attack, you'll be glad to have detailed analytics and logs to clue you in on what's happening. Also, have a documented incident response plan ready for when something does go wrong. Understand this, it's not a matter of if, but when it will happen. Plan what steps you'll take, who to contact for support, and how you'll communicate with users if your app is compromised or experiences downtime. A good step 1 for any plan is to stay calm. If you prepared adequately, there isn't anything anyone can do to you that you can't eventually recover from. A good step 2 for any plan is to completely lock down your application and only allow your IP address through while you investigate and fix issues. Show everyone else a status page during this time. This might seem extreme, but it's better than letting an attacker continue to cost you money or exploit vulnerabilities in your system in an attack that could go on for hours or days if you let it. Don't post publicly to ask for support or tell your users what's going on if you're dealing with a problem, except as a last resort. It's better to just have a status page or message customers privately to let them know what's up. Number 3, you need the will and desire to keep going and to keep learning as you go. There's a lot to learn. You can't learn it all before you start. Start now, and you'll actually learn more by doing and when the stakes are higher. Don't let an attack or a security breach or even just getting stuck on a hard problem bring you down. It's going to happen, so you have to learn how to deal with it. It gets easier the more you learn. Leverage AI as an expert tutor and assistant to learn and get things done fast, but not as a crutch for real learning and skill development. If you really need professional help, don't be afraid to hire someone to help, just not these people who are saying they will charge thousands of dollars an hour to fix vibe code. Number 4. Actually, before I tell you number 4, I want to remind you again that if you want to get more specific step-by-step info on how to do any of this, click on that link in the description and let me know what you're looking for. Also, follow me on my socials linked in the description where I plan to increase my posting on stuff like this really soon. And that 4th and most important thing you need, either right before or right after you launch, is a way to market your app. And I recently figured out a reliable way to get your app in front of exactly the right people for free, and you can check it out right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.